Alright, here's a piece of canvas or light denim that I've attempted to tie-dye with some black walnut. And we're going to wax this fabric to make it more water resistant. And then I'm going to use this in another project. What you'll need to do is you'll need to have either some paraffin wax or beeswax. So I have some beeswax here, and you'll need to set up kind of a double boiler sort of situation to melt the beeswax. Okay, so this is about melted, and I'm going to use a brush to apply the wax to the fabric. So I have my fabric here, and I got my wax over to my right here, and I got my brush, and I'm just going to kind of apply this on. And right away it wants to cool down and become white, but we'll fix that. And just going to apply and brush this on. Maybe 1 or 2 coats depending on the thickness of your fabric. And you can kind of put it on any sort of way, you know, linearly or in circles. So we've got this applied, and as you can see the white spots or the wax itself becoming, you know, dry, going back to its natural state. Now, one thing you'll notice is I have a piece of cloth, and underneath the cloth I've got some newspaper. Notice I'm not doing this on the newspaper. All right. So here's a piece that's light colored, not dyed, but it picked up the newsprint. So unless you're intentionally trying to do that, make sure you have some sort of separator between the newspaper and your waxed fabric. Okay, so learn from my mistake. You don't want to do this, but make sure you cover your surface. Also, be very careful working with hot wax. If you get it on your skin and you burn yourself, it's a very bad burn. So be very careful with that. So I've got one side here pretty much waxed on, and it's kind of dry here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to do the other side. Okay. So I'm just going to brush this on. The next step, once the wax is dried, you can see that there's a little bit of whiteness here, basically where the wax is solidified. We're going to go ahead and take a heat source like a blow dryer, or even a heat gun would work as well. I'm going to put this on high heat, and I'm going to basically remelt this and have it soak into the fabric a little bit more to get rid of this whiteness. Okay, so for the most part, we'll be able to get this all smoothed out, and it'll solidify more within the fabric as opposed to on top. So I'm going to let this one side kind of cool down a little bit, then I'm going to flip it over, do the other side, and then I have another piece that I will do the same thing to. So otherwise, if you don't have that, you probably could just take a straight edge and just kind of scrape the excess wax off of it and buff up the fabric a little bit, and serve its purpose, especially if you're making it for something very rugged and to use outdoors and stuff. So there you go for this step. And here's our finished pieces of fabric that have been waxed. And what's kind of interesting about this is it gives it a nice distressed look. It protects the fabric by making it water resistant. So what will happen is the water beads up as opposed to soaking into the fabric. Hopefully you can see that there. It's just going to bead up on the fabric versus soaking in. Okay, so that's a benefit of waxing your fabric for different projects, especially something that's going to be used outdoors. Clothing, camping equipment, tarps could be done in this fashion, could be waxed or oiled, and make them water resistant. And it also gives it a nice kind of a little finish, a nice little look. What's interesting, especially on dark material like this, is I can start to score this, right? And you see I can make a line or a white mark. So when I start to work on my project here, I don't need to use any crayons or markers or chalk or anything like that. I can just go ahead and use a blunt object like a butter knife and make my markings on it. Additionally, what I can do here is to give this a nice look, because I'm going to make a bag out of this, and what will happen is I'll have to turn it right side out when I'm done. So you can go ahead and take this and kind of crumple it up, and what will happen is you should get a nice distressed look out of it, which adds to the character of the piece. Okay, hopefully you see that. So I can kind of crumple it up some more, and I'll just give it a nice little kind of worn leathery look, adds to the stress ruggedness of it. And I could use an iron, or even cover this up with a towel like this and use an iron, or an iron that don't intend to use or not afraid to get wax on, and I can actually take out the crinkles. So this is one way to liven up or add some character to your pieces, as well as give it some functionality by making it water resistant.